Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this Monday morning. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I'm not sure what happened, why the live video just stopped. I was doing the show. I thought we were live. All of a sudden, I see replay, like it was already over. So my apologies for that. We will make sure that going forward here, no more glitches happen between now and 11 a.m. We did start, in case you just missed it here, talking Bills and Chiefs. The Bills, to me, got a very important, much-needed victory for them going forward here to get confidence going to the playoffs. Josh Allen played great. The defense played even better. Huge win for Buffalo. With that said, though, while I'm impressed with the Bills, I'm also not panicking with the Chiefs. I think we all got to take a deep breath here. Calm down. The fact that there's even questions of whether the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs, whether there should be concern of Kansas City even being a playoff team, to me is overblown. I get they're 2-3. Sure. They're in last place in the AFC West. I get it. We're also in week 5. We're also talking about a Kansas City Chiefs team that has a healthy Patrick Mahomes, a healthy Tyreek Hill, a healthy Travis Kelce, a healthy offensive line, and Andy Reid as the head coach. Sure, the defense has been historically bad up to this point through 5 games. I get it, but guess what? The defense in Kansas City, frankly, has always been bad. The bar that has to be raised for Kansas City to have a chance here defensively isn't very high. Just be below average, be mediocre, and this Chiefs team is going to be a really tough out in the playoffs. This offense is still, outside of last night, playing really good through the first 5 games of the season. I'm not concerned. This is 100% a playoff team. There's really no doubt in my mind. The fact that there's even questions about it is ludicrous. It's insanity. I guess what we like to overreact, especially when it's a primetime game, so everyone's watching. It's not kind of flushed away in the 1 o'clock window where there's so much going on that, sure, you see a game, but you're not totally locked in. There's not a lot of reaction time. When it's a standalone primetime game and everyone's watching, I get there's way more to overreact to. But look, it's the Chiefs. Let's just pump the brakes here. This team is going to be fine. This team is still a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I'm still not picking anyone else in the AFC. For me right now, I'm still sticking with the Chiefs as my Super Bowl pick out of the AFC. Let's not panic. Let's not get crazy. It's 5 games. There's still plenty of time to go for them to figure it out. I think they will. I'm not panicking. Are you? Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. I'd love to hear your Chiefs thoughts and your Bills thoughts. Are they the best team in the AFC? Is there a team right now better than the Buffalo Bills? Again, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. So let's look on the AFC West here, because I thought there was a team, since we're talking playoff contenders, Super Bowl contenders, I thought there was a team yesterday that made a true statement that they are, forget playoff contenders, which I think they were coming into the year. They are Super Bowl contenders, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a team that, I'll be honest, I did not pick to make the playoffs. I thought they were a fringe, borderline playoff team. I always thought they were just 1 year away. I didn't want to get wrapped up in the second-year QB hype. We see that sometimes where, oh man, year number 2, this is going to be kind of the breakout year, if you will. That was supposed to be Kyler Murray last year and an MVP year. Played well through the first half and got hurt. That was kind of the same narrative, though, for Justin Herbert this year. Big year number 2 for Justin Herbert coming. This team has really got it all. I was a little wary of the hype, to be completely honest. I was actually a little nervous that when a team this hyped up coming into the season, I always get a little, cautious that, okay, maybe let's not go overboard just yet. So I was not a believer in the Chargers in terms of making the playoffs this year. But I think through the first 5 games, it's safe to say it's not an overreaction or hyperbole, I should say. This team, though, is legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I will go there. Forget playoff contenders. This team is legitimately can come out of the AFC. And really, there's one major reason why. It's simple, but it's true. They have finally learned how to win. For the longest time, the big question for LA was, how would they lose this game? How would they blow it this time? Well, now the Chargers, the question is, how are they going to win it? And they've been doing so. This season, they have totally flipped the narrative on its head, and they have been finding different ways to win, where in past years, they've always found different ways to lose. And let's look. You look at this Chargers roster, right? When they were losing games, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, it was never for a lack of talent, right? Like the Chargers weren't making deep runs in the postseason. They weren't having, some brutal losses because there was no talent on the team. They had Phillip Rivers, who was a solid quarterback for most of his career, if not all of his career in LA. They had Mike Williams. They had Keenan Allen. They had Austin Eckler. Like those guys just didn't magically show up out of nowhere this year. Those guys have been staples on the roster, on the offense for years now. Defensively, you have Joey Bosa. You have Derwin James when he's healthy. I get that's never been, often. But you have talent all 3 levels on defense. You have talent all 3 levels on offense. It was never a talent thing. They just, whatever reason, whether it's a mentality, whether it's just, if you believe this, a curse, they never knew how to finish games. They never knew how to make the winning play, which always come back to bite them because they'd always end up blowing games late, and they'd always find new ways to lose, right? I mean, that was always the thing with the Chargers. How are they going to lose this week? It was usually sometimes maybe the offense not being able to put together a 2-minute drive to get in the end zone to either tie or win the game. Then it was the defense. Okay, the offense scores. Guess what? Then the defense can't get a stop. The other team goes down the field, and you blow it there defensively because you're unable to get the one stop you need. You have field goal kickers, right? Missed field goals where, hey, the offense does their job. They get in field goal range. Kicker doesn't come up. And you had bad coaching decisions. Anthony Lynn would make some of the most head-scratching, whether it's clock management, whether it's play-calling decisions. And you would just be sitting there saying, what the hell is this team doing? So it was everything that's always been an issue for the Chargers, right? Whether it's offensively, defensively, special teams, or head coaching. They would always find new and different ways to lose games. That was who the Chargers were. The past 2 years, 2019 and 2020, when you look at their record in one-score games, it was 7-16. 7-16. Anytime the game was close for the most part, it's not going LA's way. But this year, 2021, has been the total opposite of that. And I thought yesterday was the perfect encapsulation of that. And you had an all-time classic against the Browns, 47-42, in which they held on. And it's not even that they won the game against a really good AFC team. To me, it's how they won that's more impressive than I'm buying into having them be legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Because despite trailing basically almost the entirety of the game, right? They took a 7-3 lead early in the second quarter. After that, it was Cleveland winning the entire game. But the Chargers didn't get down. And whether it was offensively or defensively, they made the clutch plays when they had to. Which, how often, again, are we saying that when it comes to the Chargers? Clutch and Chargers do not go together before this year. This year, that is the case, though. That is absolutely the case. Now, it helps when, you know what? So far through the first 5 games, Justin Herbert is living up to that MVP hype, that big explosion in year number 2, because he has been absolutely phenomenal this season. And he did so again yesterday. Threw for 398 yards, so just shy of 4 bills throwing the ball, totaled 5 touchdowns, and more importantly, no interceptions, no turnovers. And this is a guy coming out of the second half that was lighting up the Browns defense and scoring at will. The Chargers scored 5 touchdowns in the second half, and they needed all of them. But Herbert, especially when the game was on the line, in the second half, when you needed touchdowns, when you needed scoring plays and clutch scoring plays, Justin Herbert was there time and time and time again. So if you take away the last possession of the game where they just took a kneel down to ice it after the defense got the stop, the Chargers scored on their final 4 possessions to win the game. Scored touchdowns on their final 4 possessions, including every time they touched the ball in the fourth quarter. Guess what it ended up being? A touchdown. Like, when do we ever talk about the Chargers making clutch plays like that, where the offense was so dynamic, so unstoppable, that in the biggest points of the game, where they are constantly scoring, getting down, scoring, getting down, scoring, getting down, they continue to come back, showed resiliency, and would come back stronger. I'm so impressed by this Chargers team so far because, again, they're flipping the entire narrative on its head. And they, in the span of a year, have gone from finding new ways to lose to now finding new ways to win. So offensively, they have continued so far this year, not just in this game against the Chiefs, against the Washington football team, even last week against the Raiders on Monday night, finding new ways to win offensively. And on the flip side, it's going to be weird to say, but the defense played really well down the stretch. I know they gave up 42 points. So again, it's really hard to sit here and tell you a defense that played, gave up 42 points, played well. But again, in the clutch moments, when the Chargers needed their defense to step up in the big moments the most, they did. We never say that. And this year, we are. You're down 42-41, right? Late in the game, what happens? Boom, Chargers get a 3-and-out. They give the offense the ball back with 2:11 left. As we know, that means touchdown time for Justin Herbert. You score a touchdown, Browns get the ball back, minute 31 left, another stop to seal the game. So despite getting torched all game long by the Browns offense, by Baker Mayfield, by the run game, they got 2 stops in a row. The 2 biggest drives of the game for Cleveland, LA won. They got off the field on 4th down. Defensively, they made the stops. Again, even when special teams-wise, the Chargers tried to blow, because you had Tristan Vizcaino miss an extra point that was supposed to tie the game at 42-42 late in the game. The Chargers were still able to overcome that. And this is the team last year, 2 years ago. They are losing this game every single time and losing it in different ways. Not this year. Not yesterday. When was the last time, again, we have talked about the Chargers coming up clutch, making the winning play, even overcoming some negativity where the defense has gotten torched for basically almost the entire game for 3.5 quarters. The offense, they've played really well, but you had special teams let you down where you score the game-tying touchdown, the game-tying extra point is missed, and that could have just deflated the entire team. Defense got the stop, offense converted, defense got another stop, game over. That's why I'm buying into the Chargers as Super Bowl contenders. It was never a talent thing for LA. It was never that they just didn't have the players to do so. They've had the players. They never knew how to make the winning play. And guess what? Winning, as we've seen, is contagious. Now, right now, it is spreading all through the Chargers locker room. But again, it's not just yesterday. Right? Sometimes you can get a little carried away with one game and you can try to extrapolate that through the whole season. Oh, they made the clutch plays this game, so that means they'll make the clutch plays through the rest of the season. Never the case. Sometimes you get one good game and you can't replicate that. So far, though, through the first 5 games of the 2021 season, The Chargers have been making the winning plays almost every week. Credit to the Cowboys. They made more plays in week 2. They got that big win, walk-off field goal. Other than that, the Washington football game, you had the defense and the offense both making some clutch plays. You had the Chiefs game. Defensively getting a stop, offensively making huge fourth down conversions, being aggressive on offense, making the winning play. Justin Herbert throwing, the game-winning touchdown under a minute left. They made, the clutch plays offensively and defensively to go into Arrowhead and get a massive victory. And then even last week, jump out to a 21-0 lead over the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Place is packed with Raiders fans. All of a sudden now it's 21-14. Here comes Las Vegas making a comeback. Defense makes a play. Offense scores a touchdown and put the game away. They continue to step up in the big moments and make the winning play. They've always had the talent. LA did. Now you have a superstar quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have an aggressive, really good head coach in Brandon Staley. And guess what? Now the wins are trickling in. This is not an accident. This is not a fluke. The Chargers are legitimate. Forget playoff contenders. They are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. When you're talking about the best in the AFC, the Bills, the Browns, the Chiefs, right? Those are the kind of the 3 teams we always kind of thought going into the year. Those would be the biggest playoff contenders go to the Super Bowl. The Chargers are in that conversation. They're probably ahead of the Chiefs right now. But the Chargers are absolutely in the Super Bowl conversation going forward, and they will be the rest of the year. Not just in week 5, the rest of the season. We will be lumping in the Chargers with every other team we're talking about when it comes to Super Bowl expectations coming out of the AFC. I'm curious your thoughts. I'm a believer in the Chargers. Are you? Do you think they're true Super Bowl contenders? Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook is where you can type us in. If you're watching the live stream, comment right there. Nice and simple. We're on Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show. On Twitter as well as where you can tweet us and check out the live stream on both of those Twitter accounts as well. Comment right there. Not on Periscope, I guess on Facebook, on Twitter broadcast live. So a comment section like normal. Tweet there. You get your thoughts on the show. We'll get your comments read on air. And when we do return here on the Ryan Hickey Show, it's quick hits. A lot to bounce around with, including, even though it comes in a loss, still very impressed with the Bengals. We'll dive into some more NFL storylines around week number 5 in the NFL when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center, Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. 15 minutes from now, we'll dive into the two biggest games in college football from week number 6 over the weekend. Alabama A&M, Penn State, Iowa. A lot to get into there. But before we do that, we got to bounce around the NFL. A lot happened in week number 5 that we didn't touch on so far. So let's do so in a segment I always love every single Monday, quick hits. Let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Because even though they lost 25-22, in which no kicker, it seemed like, wanted to win that game, 5 straight field goal misses at one point for Mason Crosby drills the eventual game winner. I come away from this game thinking the Bengals are legitimate playoff contenders. I don't know about you, had no real thought of that being a possibility, anywhere near a possibility. I went into year 3, to be honest, of Zach Taylor, thought this was it. Thought he was a lame duck, thought he was going to be a guy that was going to get fired after the year, and I was going to wait for the next head coach to come in and really kind of give Joe Burrow a shot here. But year 3, Zach Taylor has done a tremendous job to where this team was super competitive. Where you look around the AFC, outside of the top 4 or 5 teams there, I think there's still a real toss-up for spots 6 and 7 in the wild card. I think the Bengals are right in there. They are right there, in part because this connection so far between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is unbelievable. Yesterday, we just the latest story of it. 6 catches for Jamar Chase, 159 yards and a touchdown. Put himself in the elite category of rookie NFL receivers because now he has 5 touchdowns through his first 5 games of his rookie career. Only 2 other rookie wide receivers were able to do that. Randy Moss, Calvin Ridley. Not bad status to be in. Not a bad group to be in. 5 touchdowns to the first 5 games. Only Randy Moss, Calvin Ridley, the other 2 rookie wide receivers to have at least 5 touchdowns through your first 5 games. And I'll be honest here, hand up, I was dead wrong. Because I was a guy that going into the draft, I really thought they should have went line. Penei Sewell, give Joe Burrow a shot here because you know what? You can get Jamar Chase. I know they were college buddies. They won a national title together at LSU. But if there's no time for Joe Burrow to throw, it doesn't matter how wide open Jamar Chase is. Burrow's going to be getting killed. He's already coming off an ACL injury that ended his season prematurely last year. And if you don't have time, you don't have a chance. I was legitimately worried that, you know what? Offensive line should be the move. I was worried that if you make the move for Jamar Chase, it'd be a waste. And so far, the offensive line has picked up the slack, and this connection has been deadly. Safe to say, I think I was a little wrong there in saying O-line should have been the priority over receiver. Great start for the Bengals. They're in the playoff race. That is for sure. Something I did not expect to say 5 weeks into the 2021 season. How about Trey Lance? Speaking of the playoff race, because I think the 49ers are in it. But Trey Lance did make his debut yesterday in the desert going against the Cardinals. They lose 17-10. I will say about Trey Lance's debut, I think it's kind of went how we expected it to go. There was some good, some mostly bad. I think he still looked a little raw, still looked a little unsure, still trying to get used to the NFL game. And for me, this just reiterates why I do think Jimmy G, when he's healthy, because they have a bye week this week, so whether it's the week after, whether it's a few weeks now, we will see Jimmy G start again for the 49ers. To me, that's almost a guarantee. I don't think this is going to be a Bears situation where Andy Dalton was a starter, he got hurt, and then Justin Fields now eventually was named a starter for the rest of the season. I don't think that's going to be the case here where Jimmy Garoppolo is never going to start again for the 49ers. I think he definitely will start this year. Now it's just, to me, it's just more of a matter of when than if. Because credit to Trey Lance. It's like he played horribly. He still kind of showed you flashes of why he was worth the risk at number 3, why the 49ers traded all this draft capital to move up and get him. He went 15-29, 192 yards. He also added 89 yards on the ground, 16 carries. So he's very dynamic, right? He adds both, especially a run element that is not there from the quarterback position that Jimmy Garoppolo just can't bring you. But the thing is, though, when you look at this 49ers team and how Trey Lance played, I don't think he will get up to speed very quickly. I think what we saw yesterday will be how we see Trent, if he was to play the rest of the season, how he'll play mostly. Some good, some bad. Maybe one game or two he'll play out of his mind. One game or two he'll play really, really, really bad. But that's why I think this is kind of the reason why Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers, wanted to give Trey Lance a red shirt. He just looked like a guy that was still a little bit confused, still trying to get used to the NFL game. Still looked like a guy that was very inexperienced, not just on the NFL level, but just at the quarterback level in general. So for me, that's why I do think Jimmy Garoppolo will be back. This is a playoff team when Jimmy G is their quarterback. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan will kind of throw that down the drain. I think he owes it to the rest of the roster, who's talented enough to be in the playoff hunt, to make sure that they are in the playoff hunt. So I think this year you could start Jimmy G when he's healthy. You hope that he could stay healthy then for the rest of the season. Sit Trey Lance down, have him get experience like this, but mostly learn and practice, and then have him ready to go in year number 2. The only way I would say Trey Lance should start the rest of the season, or maybe get inserted back into lineup, is if this team falls out of the playoff race. They are 7-9, 6-8, 6-9 with a few games to go. You're out of the playoff race. All right, then throw Trey Lance in there for the last few games, get him some experience. But for me, between now and then, I would play Jimmy G when he's healthy, play him down the stretch, and try to cash in and make this team a playoff team. Speaking of possibly being a playoff team, Denver Broncos lose to the Steelers yesterday, 27-19. For me, the Broncos are coming back down to earth. To me, this is the team we expected going into the year. I get they start off 3-0, and all of a sudden expectations change, right? They're the top of the AFC West. Them and the Raiders both 3-0, both 2 surprise 3-0 teams. And I think that all of a sudden kind of changed people's expectations for the Broncos, despite the fact that they're 3 wins over the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars. 3 of the worst teams in the NFL. So now I think the last 2 games, whether it's a loss to the Ravens and now a loss to the Steelers, this is a team that I think shows they're not a playoff team. They got off to a nice start. They were the darling for the first 3 weeks. This is truly not a playoff team. I mean, there were some legitimate concerns coming out of yesterday's game. You look at the Steelers' offense and the success they were able to have against the Broncos defense that was supposed to be one of the best in the NFL. That's really bad. And you're the Steelers coming into this game through the first 4 games, averaging 16.8 points per game, one of the lowest points per game in all the NFL. Well, for lack of a better term, for Steelers standards, opened it up by scoring 27 points. And it's not that just they scored 27 points, it's the way they were able to score points. They were able to establish the run big time. What is something that through the first 4 games, the Steelers weren't able to do, and then frankly, gave up trying to do. But for some reason, Denver Broncos said, yeah, you want to run us? Go run on us. Najee Harris ran for 122 yards. Where is this defense? The Steelers' rushing offense was dead last in the NFL, just over 55 yards per game. They got to the point where they wouldn't even try to run the ball because it was so futile, because there's no shot of success. And yet the Broncos defense allows them to run for 122 yards yesterday. It wasn't just the running game, the passing game. Ben Roethlisberger sacked just 1 time yesterday, and he averaged 10.1 yards per attempt. Again, if you go back to the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs conversation we had before, Ben Roethlisberger had one of the lowest yards per attempt totals in the NFL, averaging just over 6 yards per attempt. Yesterday, Patrick Mahomes averages 5 yards per attempt. It was really bad. We saw he wasn't going deep at all. That's been Ben Roethlisberger's MO. He hasn't been able to take a deep shot. One, because his arm kind of, the deep ball's okay. But for the most part, he's not mobile. The O-line doesn't give him much time in the pocket. And there's no run game, so they're one-dimensional. So defenses know the pass is coming. Defenses know the O-line is not very good. They can't protect. Ben Roethlisberger knows that. So the offense is forced to call short, quick passes to give Big Ben a chance, to give those receivers a chance, and just not have them get sacked every play. And despite that, just 1 sack for Denver. And again, Ben Roethlisberger averaged 10 yards per attempt, so he's pushing the ball down the field more than ever. That's a huge, huge, huge disappointment. And it's even more concerning because when you look at how this Denver team is constructed, Teddy Bridgewater is a guy that can be a game manager, that can get you in some certain spots, not turn the ball over too frequently, and not really be the reason why you lose a game. The thing that gets you concerned is that if you need now Teddy Bridgewater to win the game with his arm, you're not going to have much success. I get the Broncos, they were first and goal, chance to win the game late in the fourth quarter, 4 tries, they were shut down before, Pittsburgh did win. So you're basically knocking on the door. You were, a touchdown, a 2-point conversion rate, send this game to overtime, maybe pulling it out, and they were right there. 4 chances, goal to go, could not get in the end zone. Just under a minute left in the fourth quarter. But again, that just to me kind of shows if you have to rely on Teddy Bridgewater to win the game with his arm, you're going to lose more games than you're going to win. That's not the recipe for success for Denver. They got to run the ball, have Teddy Bridgewater make a few plays, make a few throws. But if you're relying on Teddy to sling it and win games with his arm, you're just not going to. Broncos coming back down to earth. They are showing you the last 2 weeks why I was not a believer in them even when they were 3-0, why they are truly not a playoff team. The Lions, as we know, were never a playoff team. They were not coming into this season with any playoff expectations, any playoff hopes. With that said, though, I got to know, something has to have happened for Lions fans to be as cursed as they are. Like, what did they do to deserve this heartbreak on a weekly basis? I don't know if there used to be the curse of the Billy Goat for the Cubs, and that kind of always, been haunting them for 108 years. I don't know if there's something like that, where I don't know if it's a curse of the lion, whether maybe there's a lion that walked around Ford Field that just put on a big hex on the franchise. But the Lions, it's insane how they have found the craziest ways to lose every single week. Not just this season, but in previous years. It's very Lions-like how they find new ways to lose. Very similar to the Chargers we were talking about, but the Chargers this year have finally kicked that habit and have gotten out of it. And now the Lions fans are just truly suffering. My sympathies and my heart goes out to Detroit Lions fans. This is just brutal, and you suffer another awful, awful way to lose. Now, you remember a few weeks ago, you had Justin Tucker kicking the NFL record 66-yard field goal where it hits the crossbar, goes up. Sometimes it goes, in front, no good. Sometimes it goes back. This one, of course, goes back. Field goal is good. NFL record. Ravens pull one out and win a game that improbable fashion. That was brutal. That was heartbreaking. The way the Lions lost to the Vikings yesterday, I think, is even worse. Absolutely worse. So in case you missed it, the Vikings are running out the clock. They're up 19-7, or they're up, 19-13, 17-9. I forget. Wow, I'm awful. Either way, the Vikings are up by 7. 1 first down. Ice at the game. The Lions have no timeouts left. 3rd and 7, they run the ball. Alexander Madison is stripped in his own end, and the Lions recover. So you get a fumble with 2 minutes left. All of a sudden, now you're down by 7. The ball's at the Minnesota 20-yard line. 3 plays later, the Lions score. You make the play. The Lions reverse the curse. Instead of being the ones to fumble the ball away, they get a stop. They force a fumble. They get the turnover. They score a touchdown. Not just that, they go for 2 and take the lead. They go for 2. They get it. All of a sudden, this goes from a first down, the game's over, Vikings win, to a fumble, touchdown, 2 conversion. Now the Lions are winning the game with just, 37 seconds left. I thought this game was over. I'll be completely honest. No timeouts left for Minnesota. 37 seconds left. This game is over. And unfortunately, not the case. 3 plays is all it took for the Vikings to get to the Lions' 36-yard line. Greg Joseph drills it with a 54-yard game winner at the gun. Again, I don't know what Lions fans did to deserve the karma that they're getting. I don't even call it karma, just the bad luck they've been getting. But to make a play, 2 minutes left, get the 2-point conversion, go ahead, really be un-Lions-like in making the clutch plays. So they just give it all away with 37 seconds left. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Lions fans, I am so sorry. That is brutal. Absolutely brutal. I'll give the Giants a little bit of credit here. They lose to the Cowboys 44-20. Right? Blowout loss. The reason why I'm going to give the Giants credit, though, is because for the most part of this game, it got out of hand a little bit late. They put up a good fight against the Cowboys when they were severely, you talk about playing with one hand behind your back, they were playing with both hands tied behind their back and both their legs taped up. Because at this point, basically after halftime, the Giants were missing their starting quarterback at Daniel Jones, who was very scary. We hope he's okay. Got a concussion, was stumbling off the field. Very scary sight. They lose Daniel Jones just for the half. You lost your running back, Saquon Barkley, early on, twisted his ankle, now out maybe a week, sometimes 2 to 4 weeks. So in the game, you lose your quarterback, your running back, your number one receiver, Kenny Galladay, who was the big prize possession in the offseason. You already were without Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard. So you're without your quarterback, your running back, your top 3 wide receivers, and the left tackle, Andrew Thomas, was active but didn't start and didn't play in the game. So think about that. Quarterback, running back, 3 receivers, left tackle. You're without 6 starters on the offense, and arguably 6 of the most important players on the offense. And they were still playing hard. The defense was giving Dak Prescott and company some fits. Again, 44-20. The score is a little bit deceiving because it got out of hand early. But the Giants were fighting. They were playing tough. I give them credit. I do. And it's finally nice to see Kadarius Toney, the rookie out of Florida, I don't say contribute, but actually fit into the offense. 189 yards on 10 catches. I was skeptical of the Giants taking Toney because I didn't trust Jason Garrett to be creative enough to have him fit in the offense. That's a guy he's a sort of a gadget guy where you kind of got to find new creative ways to get on the ball. I think Jason Garrett was the guy to do that. So far, it's nice to see that Toney in this game, with all the other injuries, was able to step up and be the one guy, the one shining light in this game that was really otherwise muddled by a dark cloud over the Giants here. Just totally ravaged by injury. Speaking of a dark cloud, what the hell was going on with the kickers yesterday? I mean, this is crazy. An absolutely horrible day for NFL kickers. You had a record 12 extra points that were missed yesterday. Big one by Tristan Vizcaino in the Chargers-Browns game that should have tied the score up at 42 late in the fourth quarter. As we know, he misses it, gives the Browns 1-point lead. Eventually, though, the Chargers do come back, do score, do win the game. But that was a monumental miss for Vizcaino. You had in the Packers-Bengals game 5 straight field goals missed by either Mason Crosby or Evan McPherson that would have either given the team the lead late in the fourth quarter or won the game in overtime. 5 consecutive misses. Insanity. It's crazy. Maybe you chalk it up to just one of those days kicking the NFL, but this extra point moving it back here is crazy. This year, the extra point has been hit 92% of the time, which sounds really high. The lowest percentage in NFL history is what I saw earlier on Twitter today. So this kind of shows the gimmies here are anything but. And that's messing with the confidence, and now you're seeing it kind of bleed all throughout the NFL. Kicking has been less and less consistent more than ever. It's crazy. And finally here, I want to go back to Thursday night very quickly. So we got the unfortunate news with Russell Wilson's finger injury. He'll be out 4 to 8 weeks. He had surgery on it Friday morning, and now it's just about how quickly can he heal. The minimum is expected he'll be out to be a month. Short term, this is obviously devastating for the Seahawks, right? Because now this is a playoff team. All of a sudden, now they're sitting 2-3. Geno Smith's going to be starting at least for the next month, possibly up to 2 months. Your season's in big time trouble. Seahawks fans, I do have some optimism because I think long term, this is the best thing to happen to the Seattle. Because I don't know about you, for me, I thought this is Russell Wilson's last year. He was frustrated with the way, his role in the offseason or his role in the offense and the team is. He doesn't really get his voice heard. He wanted to be heard. Well, Pete Carroll basically said, yeah, you're not going to do that. Nothing changed this year compared to last year when Russell Wilson voiced his frustration. So I truly thought that if things kind of ended similarly to how they did last year, Russ would finally get frustrated and truly want out and get that trade, get a trade request, and be on a new team in 2022. But now this injury allows Pete Carroll to see what life was like without Russell Wilson. I don't think Pete Carroll truly knows how good he has with Russ as a quarterback, and now he'll get a rude awakening as to how much Russell Wilson covers up. This defense stinks. They can't run the ball. Russell Wilson truly, year in and year out, is the biggest reason why the Seahawks win games. Pete Carroll still thinks it's running the ball and playing good defense. He still thinks he can win games with his defense. That defense stinks. And now with Geno Smith, no offense to him, he played fine in his role on Thursday night. But now you don't have Geno, you don't have Russell Wilson back there cleaning up the mistakes for your defense. That's been very porous through the first 5 games, similar to last year as well. You still have a chance for Pete Carroll to kind of realize, maybe it is more Russ than I thought. Maybe we truly do need Russell Wilson, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep him happy in Seattle. If he wants more power, fine. If he wants more say in the offense and personnel and scheme, okay, we'll give it to him because I need Russ more than he needs me. We cannot allow him to go outside of the building, go to another team and win a Super Bowl. This is a great taste for a Pete Carroll to see what life is like without Russell Wilson, while also having an opportunity to fix the relationship before he truly is gone and you have to live with your decision. This, to me, Seahawks fans that want to see Russell Wilson in Seattle, I think could be a blessing in disguise that he'll be out maybe up to 2 months this year. Those are just my thoughts from week number 5 in the NFL. When we do return here on the Ryan Hickey Show, Alabama lost. Penn State lost. Even though those two teams, those two top 4 programs lose, I'll explain to you why, in terms of their cultural playoff standing, it means nothing. We'll get to that when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show. As always, the 10 o'clock hour on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, sponsored by LC Designs. Charcuterie boards are the perfect boards for all occasions. So make sure your guests are happily fed with some delicious and aesthetically pleasing charcuterie boards made by Lauren Clark. So check out lcdesignsnyc.com, lcdesignsnyc.com for more information. A ton of NFL notes to get into. We will circle back to the NFL conversation in a little bit here, but Man, what a weekend it was in college football, highlighted by the two games of the weekend, A&M, Alabama, Iowa, and Penn State. Alabama, number 1 in the country, goes down. Penn State, number 4 in the country, goes down. 2 top 4 teams taken out. With that said, though, it's a month and a half, 2 months left of the season. Neither the Alabama loss or the Penn State loss impact their college football playoff hopes one bit. Both are still alive and well, still both have really good chances to make the college football playoff. I'll explain. I'll start with Penn State. They go on the road. They lose to Iowa 23-20. Despite the loss, Penn State season is all in front of them. Like the thing is here, losing to a Big Ten West team when Penn State's in the Big Ten East, this doesn't impact their chances of making the Big Ten title game at all. Because guess what? They still have to take care of business, win or lose against Iowa. They were still going to have to take care of business in the Big Ten East. You still have to beat Ohio State. You still got to beat Michigan. You still got to beat Michigan State. Then they can get their rematch with the Hawkeyes in Indianapolis in the Big Ten title game. I mean, win or lose, the East is where they're going to have to win their games and take care of business. You still have to beat the Buckeyes whether you win this game or not. Still got to beat Michigan. You still got to beat Michigan State here. Those were truly the 3 games that will define Penn State's season, not this Iowa loss. And you know what? Watching this game on Saturday, there's nothing that tells you that they can't run the table, that they can't beat Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State here in the next 8-9 weeks of the season. And the one caveat has to be, obviously, is that their quarterback, Sean Clifford, is back and is healthy. If not, season's over. Penn State's not going to beat Ohio State. They probably won't beat Michigan and maybe won't even beat Michigan State. But if Sean Clifford is back, and that Ohio State game's at the end of the month, they have a bye this week, they play Illinois, then they get Ohio State. So you have 3 weeks or so to get Sean Clifford healthy enough for whatever injury he suffered. We have no idea what it is. We have no idea the severity. But if he is back, if he is healthy, for me, there is no doubt that Penn State is more than capable of running the table the rest of the way. Because let's call it for what it is. That game, when he was healthy, when Sean Clifford was on the field for the first quarter and a half or so against Iowa, he carved up their defense. He carved them up. Sure, he threw 2 interceptions, 2 bad turnovers, neither which of the throws should have been made. Absolutely. Even despite turning the ball over 2 times. Sean Clifford, in the quarter and a half he's on the field, threw for 146 yards. And again, just a quarter and a half. Offense scored 17 points. There was a lot of hype on this Iowa defense. This Iowa defense, let's call for what it is, when they aren't turning the ball over, is average. They rely on turnovers. They are a turnover-heavy defense is how they have their success. Because guess what? Even though they got 2 turnovers, they still couldn't stop Penn State's offense. This could have been, call for what it is. This could have been a bloodbath if Sean Clifford didn't get hurt. This would have been a blowout win for Penn State. You could say injuries are part of the game. I get it. But for anyone watching that game and trying to give Iowa some serious credit here or truly thinks Iowa is the better team, I'm sorry, we were not watching the same game. Injuries do happen, but when you have such an injury to such an important player, you can't overcome it. You want to get on James Franklin for not having a backup quarterback ready? Okay, there was some criticism there. Like, what are you going to do? How many teams are winning with their backup quarterback? I get A&M just did with Zach Calzada. Fine. There you go. There's the one thing. Georgia winning with Stetson Bennett, but they could put anyone at quarterback right now. They don't rely on their quarterback too much. There's not many teams. If Bryce Young gets hurt and Alabama needs their backup quarterback to get in, they're not winning many games. They're not winning, I think, a game like this on the road at number 3 Iowa. They're not. So if Sean Clifford is healthy, this offense is still really damn good. And again, we saw it here in the short time he's on the field. He had no problem going up and down the field on Iowa's potent, dominant defense. And on the flip side, Penn State's defense was all over Iowa's offense. Even when Sean Clifford had 2 bad interceptions, Iowa scored just 3 points off that. And the only reason they got a field goal is because they had an interception at the 8-yard line. Iowa could not move the ball at all against Penn State's defense for basically 3.5 quarters of the game. The issue was, unfortunately, when Sean Clifford goes out, the offense is unable to sustain drives. And next thing you're putting the defense on the field longer and longer and longer. And eventually they're going to get worn down. Iowa held the ball for 11 more minutes than Penn State. And again, when you had Taquan Roberson come in the backup quarterback for Penn State, we saw they just could not do anything offensively. Once Clifford went out, again, midway through the second quarter, Penn State just got 6 first downs the rest of the game. 4 of them came on one drive. So outside of the one drive where they got a field goal, they could not do anything offensively. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out. They had 8 3 and outs when Sean Clifford went out of the game. I'm sorry. You can't ask your defense to constantly, every single drive, go out there and receive 0 help from the offense. They were worn down, so sure. I made the one play you had to make on that big touchdown from Spencer Petras. But, I mean, look, to be honest, Penn State absolutely, to me, comes out of that game, and I think they are better than I even expected going in. If Sean Clifford is healthy, this team, I'm telling you, is a legitimate playoff where they can go on the road and beat Ohio State. They can beat Michigan and Michigan State. To me, their playoff hopes are still wide open in front of them. The path is manageable, and frankly, it's straightforward. You went out, they're in. It's very simple. You beat Ohio State, you beat Michigan, you beat Michigan State, you get a rematch with Iowa and Indianapolis, you beat them, you're in the playoff. So this loss, in theory, doesn't mean much because Penn State still controls their own destiny. That's what it's all about. Controlling your own destiny, winning the games you got to win. If Penn State wins out, they're in. They still control their fate for the college football playoff. That's why for me, this loss doesn't mean much. Same thing now on the flip side for Alabama. They lose to A&M. They lose, unlike Penn State, they lose a division game. Both teams are in the SEC West. The difference, though, and the reason why this loss, similar to the Penn State losing in Iowa, doesn't really mean anything for the college football playoff in terms of Alabama, is that A&M already has 2 SEC losses to Arkansas and Mississippi State. So even though they have the tiebreaker over Alabama, you need Alabama to lose another game. I don't know about you. I don't really foresee that happen. Now, look, you could say, I didn't foresee A&M even making this a game, let alone pulling off the upset. Fine. Touche. But so far, Alabama, as long as they run the table similar to Penn State, they are in. And coming out of this game, looking at Alabama, how they played, I don't want to oversimplify it, but for me, this was a very un-Alabama-like game where I chalk it up to, honestly, them overlooking A&M. That's what I think this is. Because you had both the offense playing sloppily at times, the defense, can torch at times. There wasn't, I'll say, foundational cracks that have me seriously concerned going forward that this either offense can be exposed or defense can be exposed. This, to me, is like, honestly, college football kids. You're supposed to have Texas A&M. That's supposed to be the biggest test to Alabama this season on the road to College Station. Then you have, right before this game, A&M losing to Arkansas, losing to Mississippi State, and only having the backup quarterback, Zach Calzada, play for most of the year. This, to me, is definitely just a classic case of overlooking your opponent. Nick Saban, basically, his life's work is to make sure you don't get complacent. To me, Alabama looked complacent. Offensively, they left points on the board. You had that massive Bryce Young interception in the end zone that cost Alabama points. Kicked 3 field goals. So again, they were able to move the ball up and down the field for most of the game. You throw a touchdown in the end zone. You kick 3 field goals. There's a lot of points left on the board they could have capitalized on. They scored 38 points, which is crazy. But they still could have scored 45, 48, left some points on the board. And defensively, absolutely just carved up. And again, I think it's one of those classic cases of backup quarterback, you don't take him seriously, and Zach Calzada was on. Because their best player on offense for A&M, Isaiah Spiller, was bottled up. Just 46 yards on the ground. They did a great job of containing him and not letting him get loose. But you did have Zach Calzada throw for 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was picking them apart, making some good throws, making some clutch throws when he had to. Even special teams was sloppy. Right? That big 96-yard kickoff return was a momentum swinger, was a momentum changer. So I think you add it all up, offense, defense, special teams. This is, to me, just like the reason why college football is so unpredictable. I truly think Alabama went out there underestimating their opponent. A&M played the game of their lives, coming off 2 losses in a row, 2 heartbreaking losses, and they caught Alabama sleeping. So going forward, I'm not that concerned. This almost serves as a wake-up call for Alabama and almost proves Nick Saban right. If, hey, you sleepwalk, this is what happens. You can get beat by anyone. I think this re-energizes them, kind of sharpens their focus. Going forward, I don't see Alabama losing again. I don't. The only thing this does for Alabama, the only way, again, this makes the road a little bit tougher than it is right now, is that now the SEC title game is a must-win for Alabama. If you had Alabama and Georgia both 12-0 in Atlanta, I think no matter who wins, they're both in the playoff. Now, with the one-loss Alabama, this becomes a must-win for the Crimson Tide to beat Georgia to get it. That's the only thing this loss changes. They still, to me, are going to control their destiny. They still are going to win out, go to the SEC title game. Now it's just about beating Georgia. But again, similar to Penn State, you win the games in front of you, you're going in without a doubt. So that's where this loss, sure, now your margin of error is basically eliminated for both Penn State and Alabama. But as long as you win your games in front of you, you're in. It's a lock. It's a guarantee. A 12-1 Big Ten champ Penn State is guaranteed in. A 12-1 SEC champ Alabama, guaranteed in. Now it's just about winning the games in front of you. I do want to quickly give Jimbo Fisher some credit. Guy that on Twitter the last few weeks was, let's say, under fire. He gets a convenient contract extension, loses to Arkansas in a fashion where they were basically dominated the whole game. You get upset by a bad Mississippi State team. Let's just say people were unhappy with Jimbo Fisher so far in these last 2 weeks, but he had a tremendous game plan offensively. Him and defensive coordinator Mike Elko had a tremendous game plan defensively to kind of fool Bryce Young at times, get some stops in the red zone. And we finally saw history. For the first time in Nick Saban's career, he loses to a former assistant. Think about that. Was 24-0 against former assistants. I thought Lane Kiffin was going to be the guy last week to kind of break that streak. Jimbo Fisher is the guy this week to break the streak. Former assistants now going against Nick Saban that are currently head coaches are now 1-24. The goose egg is gone. And finally, hasn't been talked about too much. I, to be honest, forgot about it. But you go back to what Jimbo Fisher said at a Houston Touchdown Club, I guess, booster rally, if you will. He said back in, I think it was May, we're going to beat Nick Saban's ass when he's at Alabama. I guarantee you that. I laughed at that. A lot of people laughed at that, thinking there's no shot as long as Nick Saban's there, Jimbo Fisher and A&M is going to beat Alabama. It's really hasn't been close the last few years. This rivalry, if you will, has been one-sided, to say the least. And to credit Jimbo Fisher, he called the shot. He did it. He pulled the Babe Ruth. We'll beat his ass before he leaves Alabama. Now, he didn't say the year, but we'll give it to him because guess what? A few months after he said that, he backed up and won. Incredible. Big win for A&M. Big win for Iowa. With that said, this loss does nothing to derail the playoff hopes for Penn State. This loss does nothing to derail the playoff hopes for Alabama. They still control their own destiny. They still win the games in front of them. They are locks to make the playoff. That's why, look, it's great. It's great they both lost. It's awesome to say, oh, Alabama goes down, they're vulnerable. Penn State goes down, big time win for Iowa. These losses don't mean anything because both teams still control their own destiny. All it does is take away the margin of error. That's it. But you're going to have to win most of these games in front of you anyway to be a playoff team. Don't worry. Season, if you're a Nittany Lions fan, and I am, so maybe I'm trying to convince myself here, but it's true. You went out, you're in. Alabama, same thing. You went out, you're in. That's not the only two crazy college football games. We had an absolute instant classic in the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma, Texas. An incredible comeback by the Sooners. Do they have a quarterback coach? We'll get to that and a few other college football notes outside of just those two games that we saw from week 6. When we do return, we'll get to those in a second. You're listening to the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We talked a lot. Penn State, Alabama, both suffered their first losses of the season, but I would not categorize them as season enders, as catastrophic. Disappointing, absolutely, especially if you're a Penn State fan, seeing how good they played through the first quarter and a half, how dominating that effort was, to where, I mean, look, not hyperbole. I don't think I'm being a homer here as a Penn State fan myself, saying that could have gotten ugly. I think Penn State could have blew out Iowa if Sean Clifford did not get hurt. But he did. Injuries are part of the game. Iowa comes back, wins the game. But for Penn State, for their playoff hopes, still right in front of them. Really doesn't change at all. The margin for error is limited, absolutely, but you still have to beat Ohio State. You have to do that anyway to get to the Big Ten title games, have a real shot to make the playoff. You got to beat Michigan. You got to beat Michigan State. You got to take care of business in your own division. So even though you lose to Iowa, everything is still wide open right in front of you for Penn State. They win out. They take care of business. They're a lock-in. Same thing for Alabama. You lose to A&M, an in-division opponent. But because A&M has already 2 losses, Penn State, Alabama only has 1. They have the tiebreaker. They're still going forward. As long as they win out, they take care of business. They beat Auburn. They beat Arkansas. They beat the teams on their schedule. Mississippi State, they will be fine. They'll be in. The only thing that's a guarantee now that wasn't in the past was they now have to beat Georgia. Right? There's always a thought that 12-0 Alabama, 12-0 Georgia, doesn't matter who wins, they're both in, which is probably the case. Now with 1 loss, Alabama going into the most likely the SEC title game 11-1, you have to win. You have to win that game. You have to beat Georgia. That's the only thing that changes for Alabama. Penn State, you're going to have to win out your games no matter what anyway. So for me, they lost big-time storylines, but in the grand scheme of things, in the true sense of what we care about, which is the playoff, who's in, who's out, this doesn't impact either team really all that much. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. But let's also hit on a few other storylines here in college football because it was a wacky week number 6. It's wacky every week. This, to me, is why college football is the best. If you sat down on Saturday for the first time in your life to watch a true full college football weekend, I don't see how you're not hooked going back. This is what college football is. Chaos at 12, chaos at 3:30, chaos at 4, chaos at 7:30, chaos at 10 o'clock at night. It is just up and down a full Saturday full of exhilarating games, wild finishes, crazy upsets, insane plays. It is the best. And we got the Saturday started off on an incredible note. Oklahoma, Texas, Red River rivalry, one of my favorite rivalry games in all of college football. And look, I'll say this. Last year, the Oklahoma-Texas game was a turning point for the Sooners. Spencer Rattler got benched in that game, came back, won, helped lead them to a full overtime victory. And from that game, Oklahoma won out the rest of their games, blew everyone out, won by almost 27 points per game. Spencer Rattler was playing some of the best football of his career after that game. That was a turning point for Oklahoma in a good way. This year, I think the Oklahoma-Texas game is a turning point for the Sooners in the same way, but different. Because now, unlike Spencer Rattler getting benched, coming back, leading the team to victory, Spencer Rattler got benched, and there is a legitimate quarterback conversation now going forward because Caleb Williams came in, and he gave not only an impressive spark to the season or to the game for the Sooners, he frankly saved the season for Oklahoma. I know they don't have a loss, but the way they've kind of played so far this year, they don't beat Texas. Their season might be cooked. Unlike Penn State and Alabama, who both have one loss, Sooners have one loss. So the way they've kind of scuffled against Nebraska, they played okay against West Virginia. They have really not looked good for the most part at any point this year. So they don't have the same margin of error. They don't have the same schedule that sets up for big-time wins following this Texas game. So Caleb Williams, I don't think it's hyperbole to say, came in late in the first half and saved the season of Oklahoma. And now for me, he has to be the guy going forward. We talked about a catalyst where Spencer Rattler getting benched, I think, was a turning point for his season in Oklahoma season last year because he came back more motivated, more focused, and playing better than ever. Him getting benched this year, again, to me, is similar, changing the tide for Oklahoma, but now different because that means now a new quarterback has to play. You cannot put Spencer Rattler back in the field. I'm sorry. This team looked different. There was a different swagger, confidence about them. There's different elements of the offense that Caleb Williams brought that Spencer Rattler, for whatever reason, couldn't bring this year. Think about it. When the freshman came in, Oklahoma was trailing 35-17. At halftime, it was 38-20. So you're down by 18 points to a Texas team that's playing really well offensively, flying around the ball defensively. And since Caleb Williams came into the game as a full-time starter, right, because he played, a play or two. He had a 66-yard touchdown run on fourth down, but it was just a special package where it wasn't the starter, just was in for one play. But since he replaced Spencer Rattler as a full-time starter in the game, Oklahoma went on a 38-13 run to win the game. 38-13 in just about a little less than 2.5 quarters. And the biggest thing with Williams is that he brought a downfield attack that Spencer Rattler didn't have a lot this season. Caleb Williams was pushing the ball down the field, and it was very, very, very successful. 2 big-time bombs to stud receiver Marvin Mims, which, again, I don't even know why Oklahoma wasn't featuring Marvin Mims a ton at all this year. At times, he's been MIA. Not his fault. Just ball's not going to him. Plays aren't getting called for him. And now all of a sudden, new quarterback comes in, and all of a sudden, Marvin Mims reappears out of nowhere, and everyone remembers how freaking good this guy is. He's a stud receiver. I don't know why Spencer Rattler wasn't looking for him so far this season, but Caleb Williams was, and it worked out big time. So he brought one of the best receivers Oklahoma has back into the fold. He had, like I said before, when he was still alternating with Rattler, a 66-yard touchdown. So he brings a dynamic with his legs that Spencer Rattler doesn't have. He's still athletic, Rattler is, and mobile, but Caleb Williams is truly deadly with his legs. And we kind of saw that not only with him with that 66-yard run, but also opened up the running game that struggled a lot this year because now with defenses having to worry about the quarterback run, It opened up holes for their running back, Kennedy Brooks, who finished with 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, both in the fourth quarter. The second one coming with 2 seconds left to win the game. So maybe this is just coincidence. Maybe it's just happenstance, but I think there's not a coincidence here when you have Caleb Williams come in and all of a sudden the defense looks a lot better than when Spencer Rattler was in. Think about it. It's 38-20 at halftime. The final score was 55-48. Oklahoma's defense in the second half allowed just 10 points. 10 points. After getting shredded in the first half for 38. Casey Thompson at quarterback for Texas doing whatever he wants in the air. Bijan Robinson, the stud running back for Texas, just killing them on the ground. Just 10 points in the second half. The offense dried up for Texas. I think it's part of the spark that Caleb Williams brings. So I get it's easy for me to say I'm not in the locker room, but Lincoln Riley, I think he only has one move to make here going forward. It has to be Caleb Williams being the starter for Oklahoma going forward. He's not announced anything. He's not said anything either way. For me, it's a no-brainer. This can be absolutely the turning point for Oklahoma season. They looked in the second half of that game like a legitimate playoff contender. They looked to me like the team I picked to win a national title. This is my national title pick. So maybe I'm, holding on a little longer to Oklahoma than most are just because I have nothing invested. It's not like I'm a bet or anything, but I just hope to be right. But this finally, for the first time this season, looked like a national title contending team. The quarterback change has to be made. I think it will. Caleb Williams, QB1 now for Oklahoma. I can't wait to see how this changes their trajectory of the season going forward. One team's looking really good. One big-time team is looking really, really bad. LSU blown out by Kentucky, 42-21. And Kentucky did it all on the ground, basically. They gashed LSU for 330 yards. They were running all up and down the field. Now, I want to say this because I want to focus a lot on LSU, but I want to give Kentucky their credit. They're a good football team. Like them and Georgia, just like we thought going into the season, are the only two undefeated teams we have left. They do play each other this week. Should be a lot of fun there. Those two teams, Georgia's going to win. But Kentucky is a really strong team. And you look at kind of the SEC East especially, they should be number 2 behind Georgia. They're better than Florida. They've already beaten Florida. They're better than Tennessee. They're better than, obviously, Vanderbilt or South Carolina. This is going to be the number 2 team in the SEC East behind Georgia. A great year for Kentucky. Mark Stoops has really turned that program around and now is forming a consistent winner in the SEC. So congrats and kudos to Kentucky. This is a fun team to watch. This is a physical team. This is a legitimately good football team. On the flip side, LSU should be absolutely embarrassed by this performance. Kentucky forced their will down their throat. Again, they ran the ball for 330 yards. And LSU had no answer. They just were outmanned. This is a man-up kind of game. And LSU was bullied. Bullied by Kentucky, which most years should never, ever be the case. And now if you're Coach O, if you're looking at Coach O and his hot seat, it is boiling right now. Like, I don't think this is hyperbolic. I don't think I'm overreacting. There's a chance here Coach O doesn't make it to November. Forget getting fired in the season. He may not see November. Look at the next few games in their schedule. They're currently 3-3 right now. Coming off of that disappointing 2020 season where everything went wrong. I know they, a mass exodus to the NFL, a lot of injuries as well, a lot of weird COVID opt-outs, but disappointing 2020 season. Now you're 3-3, and now your next few games, Florida at home, at Ole Miss, at Alabama, home against Arkansas. Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas. And there's a chance they could lose all 4 of those games. You could be sitting at 3-7 heading to the last, part of your schedule. There's a chance Coach O doesn't make it to the end of the season. Early November could be it for him. Things are getting dangerous. We know kind of SEC, there's not a lot of patience. Gene Chizik, if you remember, won the 2011, 2010 national title with Cam Newton at quarterback. 2 years later, he was fired. Things change quick here. There's not a lot of patience. You have the same thing happen to Coach O. He won a national title in 2019, out the door in 2021. It is a dangerous, dangerous time to be Coach O right now at LSU. That seat is hot. And here's a thought. I kind of want to finish on this here. Is it fair to throw it out there that the Big Ten this year is better than the SEC? Is the Big Ten this year better than the SEC? I think the answer is yes. I absolutely think the answer is yes, because you look at the Big Ten so far, they are deep. They have 5 teams in the top 10. Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State. 5 teams in the top 10 for the first time in Big Ten conference history. They had 5 teams in the AP poll top 10. So now you start to look, the Big Ten, there's a real chance here they can get 2 teams into the playoff. Most likely it's going to need, you're going to have Iowa be 12-0, go into the Big Ten title game, and whether it's a 1-loss Penn State team, whether it's a 1-loss Ohio State team, maybe Michigan and Michigan State, I'm not a believer that they're going to go exactly 12-0 or 11-1 to make the Big Ten title game, but you have an undefeated Iowa going against a 1-loss Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, and you have the Big Ten East winner win. I think there's a legit shot that both those teams make it. Iowa has a big win over Penn State. Number 4, look, I understand Sean Clifford, and I just made the case before that Penn State would have blew at Iowa if Sean Clifford didn't get hurt. I get it. The fact is, though, they won over number 4 Penn State at home. Penn State dropped to number 7. Iowa goes up to number 2 now. So if you have a top 10 win for Iowa, and I expect Penn State to bounce back and play really well the rest of the year, whether you face Penn State, whether you face Ohio State, you're going to have a top 10 victory for the most likely, because I don't think Nittany Lions are going to slip that far. Even if they lose another game, I think they'll be competitive and be around the top 10. So you're going to have a top 10 win for Iowa at home. Even if you lose to Ohio State, to Penn State, to Michigan or Michigan State, you still have a really impressive resume. We look at the chaos in college football. Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC title game. Alabama's out. SEC's getting 1 team in. Oklahoma, but Caleb Williams look like a different team. But if they stumble, they really haven't impressed or have a signature victory. Iowa's resume, if there's a 1-loss Oklahoma, 1-loss Iowa, Iowa's resume is stronger. So you look around, there's a real chance that for the first time, the Big Ten could get 2 teams in the college football playoff. Usually the only time we even think that's a possibility is with the SEC. This year, I go out on a limb and say there's a better chance the Big Ten gets 2 teams in the SEC in the college football playoff than the SEC does. This conference is legit. Now, they're going to beat up on each other, right? You have Iowa number 2, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State all in the top 10. Michigan, Penn State, Michigan, and Michigan State all have to play each other. None of them have played each other yet. So you're going to have those teams, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 10, all round robin play each other. So losses are going to come. 1 or 2 teams might fall out of the top 10, maybe even the top 15. That's kind of how the SEC works too. You have all these ranked teams at the top. They beat each other up. This is still a legitimately strong conference. Big Ten, man. Absolutely legit. What a season. Never expected that to be the case. Wow. College football is definitely the craziest it's been in a long, long, long time. And I absolutely love it. Speaking of craziness, we don't only get craziness in college football. We got it in baseball last night. 2 wacky rules are kind of really at the forefront here of both playoff games. We'll get to that. And also, peanut butter and jelly discussion from Sunday Night Football. What's the proper ratio here for PB&J? We'll hit on that when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no 2 investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your flap. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The big story of the day in the sports world, Bills blowing out the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, 38-20. Josh Allen plays great. Bills defense locks down Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. It was an incredible performance. But there's some adversity that the Bills are able to overcome that really no one's kind of talking about that makes this win even more impressive. Now, we all know that there was a big weather delay, right? I believe it was about an hour or so. Lightning in the area at halftime. Game was delayed a long time. If you didn't last to the end of the game, I don't blame you. I think the game ended right around 1 a.m. Eastern time. So very late night out there in Kansas City. But that's not the adversity I'm talking about, because both teams had to deal with that, right? You're sitting in the locker room for an hour. Kind of stinks when you're all hyped up from halftime. You're playing great, and now you got to sit around, get tight. You got to loosen up. It's tough. But that's not the adversity I'm talking about here. The Bills were able to overcome some halftime adversity and win because they were eating some of the worst peanut butter and jelly sandwiches I think I've ever heard of. Michelle Tafoy, a tremendous NBC reporter, sideline reporter for Sunday Night Football, did maybe her best investigative journalism she's ever done. Talking to Bills players at halftime, she was asking them what they were doing to keep loose. How do you stay, energized but still not overhyped? And she was saying a lot of them were crushing some PB&Js. The big complaint, though, that there's too much peanut butter. She in her reporting said that the peanut butter and jelly ratio is about 70% peanut butter, 30% jelly. Which, look, we need to have a talk here to the culinary experts that work for the Buffalo Bills, because what the hell kind of ratio are they working with? 70% peanut butter, 30% jelly. That's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's like you order a peanut butter sandwich and put a drop of jelly on there. Peanut butter and jelly, there's a reason why it's called peanut butter and jelly. 50% peanut butter, 50% jelly. It's really, honestly, not that hard to get the ratio correct. I don't know what you're doing. To where all of a sudden you're globbing the peanut butter on one end and barely putting some jelly on the other. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the perfect sandwich because it's the perfect complement of saltiness of the peanut butter, sweetness with the jelly. They balance each other out, and your throat doesn't get that dry because the jelly is there to kind of be, to be a lubricant, if you will, to basically describe it as best I can. 70%. You are dying for these players to have their, throat get dry and have them become dehydrated and start choking. That's awful. It has to be 50%, 50%. But not only that, the one part that was not discussed by Michelle, I think, is also very important. It's not just the ratio that's important, where you got to get it as close to 50-50 as possible. It's also the amount of each. Let's not be stingy here. Now, we don't know how much peanut butter, how much truly jelly there was. But the key to the perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich is not only having equal parts peanut butter and jelly, it's also giving you a good amount of peanut butter and a good amount of jelly. I don't want to call myself an expert, but I do have 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every single day, starting from, pre-care kindergarten now to where I am right now at 27 years old, sitting here on October 11th. Every single day, without fail. The key, though, is that you got to give yourself a ton of peanut butter and a ton of jelly. You got to fill yourself up. You're not eating bread with just a little spread of peanut butter, a little spread of jelly. That's the worst to me. When you have a lot of bread, a little peanut butter, a little jelly. It's not like a bagel where you just put a little bit of butter on it, as a layer. You need a ton of peanut butter. You got to glob it on there. You got to glob on the jelly. You got to basically put the limits of the bread and how much you can hold to the max. That should be the goal when making a PB&J sandwich, especially, we're talking NFL players here. We're talking linemen. We're talking defensive linemen, linebackers. These guys need to eat. Giving them bread with just a little spread of peanut butter, spread of jelly, that's not going to do anything for them. You really got to glob it on there. You don't want to get it to the point where the jelly is just sloppy and all over because no one likes that. But that's where it comes. You put a lot of peanut butter, especially on the edges, kind of be a secure layer. And in the middle of the sandwich, you really put a ton of jelly on. I can't even describe the parts, but I make these sandwiches extra heavy. If it was a drink, it'd be heavy-handed. That's the way to do it. That's the way you get full from a PB&J sandwich. And that's part of the reason why PB&Js, to me, are the best creation out there. Super filling, but also you feel pretty light. You don't feel stuffed and bloated like you would if you have some other dinners on hand. So credit to the Bills. Not only able to overcome an hour rain delay, able to overcome some horrendous peanut butter and jelly ratios. Credit. That's a big thing to overcome. Hopefully they learned the lesson. Hopefully publicly they were shamed enough to where whoever's making the sandwiches now going forward at halftime learned their lesson. And the only thing I will say here, because we don't know what kind of peanut butter that was used. There is, though, a big difference. That truly is what makes or breaks a sandwich. The peanut butter used. Jif peanut butter is the only way to go. Skippy or creamy, doesn't matter. You go, not Skippy, chunky or creamy, either one. I'm mostly a creamy guy personally. You want to go chunky, that works too. I like a good change up here and there. The thing that cannot be negotiable is not something you can't go back and forth with is Jif or Skippy. Skippy tastes stale to me. I don't understand people that love Skippy peanut butter. It tastes kind of gross. Maybe it's a generational thing where I do feel like a lot of people my parents' age love Skippy peanut butter because that's what they're growing up on. A lot of kids my age love Jif because that's what they were growing up on. I had both, regrettably. Skippy is gross. I'd rather go to my grave starving than have Skippy peanut butter, to be completely honest. It tastes stale, gross. You can instantly taste the difference. If I was on the Bills team and they gave me Skippy peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I'd call it. Boys, I'd pull a Vontae Davis. I'd retire at halftime. I'm not coming out. No thanks. Or I'd rather go starving. I hope that's not the case. I hope the Bills did the right thing here. Jif is the only way to go. So credit to the Bills there. Big time win. And always I see a good peanut butter and jelly discussion get thrown out there. Best sandwich created. Glad it's getting the love that it deserves. Quickly, though, we will get some craziness in Major League Baseball. I know it's always kind of tough because football is always king, but there was two great playoff baseball games last night. The Red Sox take a 2-1 series lead over the Rays. The White Sox keep their season alive with the win over the Astros. Both series continue later on today. But two rules that to me are just absolutely wacky, and it's classic baseball getting in their way even when they don't have to. So we'll start in the Red Sox-Rays game very quickly here. Extra innings, great game. Kevin Kiermaier smokes a double out to right field. Hits off the wall, hits off the right fielder's chest. So off the wall, boom, bounces, hits the right fielder in the chest. Ball goes over the wall for a ground rule double. The controversy is, the Rays had a runner on first. He was on the move with the pitch. He would have scored if the ball stays in the park. But because the ball hit off the player's chest and goes over, considered a ground rule double. Basically, that's the rule. It is the way it is. It was executed properly, but the rule itself is so stupid because basically now you're rewarding a defense for, hey, you know what? You're in trouble. Throw the ball over the wall. Do whatever you got to do to put the ball out of play, and you save yourself a run. The Red Sox saved themselves a run because they were unable to score. Second and third, the Rays were 2 outs. They get out of the inning. Next inning, they had a 2-run homer to walk it off in the extra innings. That changed the game in a way it shouldn't, because you basically allowed the defense to get bailed out for making a play that really only helps them. You can't just throw the ball over the wall. I get he didn't throw it. It was inadvertent. It was like he was trying to do it. But the fact that you reward the defense for not making a play, stupid. Absolutely stupid. And in the same vein, later on in the White Sox-Astros game, you had the catcher Yasmani Grandal hit a grounder to first base. Runner on third. He's coming home. Throw to the plate. The issue is the throw to the plate is offline because Yasmani Grandal is basically doing a hockey deflection where he throws his arm out and deflects the ball. It hits off his shoulder, bounces away. The run scores. He's running into the grass. He's not like, they have the baseline. He's not in the baseline. He's nowhere close. He's like 2 feet onto the grass, running to first, basically acting like a screen. So when the ball is coming home, it drills him right in the shoulder because the ball is online. You don't expect the runner to be 2 feet onto the grass. Ball deflects, run scores, and all of a sudden, Dusty Baker's like, what the hell's going on here? It is wackiness. And frankly, stupid that the defense gets bailed out for having the ball hit off them and go off the wall. In a situation where the ball stays in play, the Rays are scoring at least one run and getting some big momentum. And then in the other way, you have basically a hockey deflection going on where it's a drive-by screen. Guy takes the ball off the shoulder, goes the other way, and all of a sudden now runs are scoring. I guess playoff baseball, you got to do what you got to do. And look, credit to Yasmani Grandal for kind of being smart there and running in a way that he kind of knew he would really alter the throw. But you got it, Major League Baseball has to fix this. That was obvious that he was out of the baseline and was only doing so to deflect the throw in the White Sox game. And obviously, you got to have some judgment here and say, all right, the guy's rounding third for the Rays game. Sure, the ball's off the wall, so technically it's a ground rule double. But you have to have, there is judgment allowed to be there. So, all right, we judge that he would have scored if the ball is in place, so we'll do that, put the guy at home. Baseball, man. Listen, I love playoff baseball. Just add to some of the wackiness last night. It was a span of an hour, too. Two things I have never seen before pop up and flare up in the biggest moments of the game. Big time day today in playoff baseball. 4 games. So even though there's some big Monday Night Football tonight, which does involve my Colts, I will say, hoping for a win, not expecting one. I do think the Ravens get the win tonight at home. It's going to be a very fun Monday for sure. So that'll do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. We appreciate you starting your week and starting your Monday morning with us. We'll be back on Thursday to get you ready for Week 6 of the NFL and Week 7 of college football. So between now and then, as always, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll talk to you soon right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio